So good afternoon, my friends. Thank you very much for being here again with me. Today I'm going to do the overview of the 6 common psychological wounds. Are they stressing your family right now from Break the Cycle? You can read it with me. The link is down below in the description box, okay? So skipping this article assumes you are familiar with the introduction of the website. There are already the videos about it. These ideas about normal personalities. These Q&A items about personality sub-selves, this comparison of the true self, the false self, behavioral traits, and the little wounds and unawareness cycle that is spreading in our society. Okay, so when you link the link down below, you can see the YouTube videos, okay? Premise: young children may experience significant caregiver abandonment, neglect, abuse, trauma, or engulfing, survive by developing fragmented personality. This causes a protective false self which shapes their perceptions. And we can't forget that perception is the one that determines our reality. If we don't perceive the reality, the way we perceive the reality is going to define our future, okay? Emotions and behavior, depending on many factors. False selves cause up to 5 psychological injuries. This article summarizes 6 epidemic inner wounds. This summary comes from a 29 years effort of my own wounds to heal my own wounds. This is from the author Peter Garlack. And to empower many trouble therapy clients to do the same. The premise above is based on the teachings of several dozen veteran mental health professionals whose works I've studied and whose knowledge, heart, and clear vision I've come to respect and trust. And for that reason, I give myself the work of reading all the Peter Garlack's website, because first of all, it's for free. Second of all, you can manage your own healing process by yourself, because in psychology you have actually 8 taboos that actually ignores what happens in quantum physics. And as because I already have the third eye open as a child and I follow my intuition, I never was really quite satisfied that with the solutions that the Western society provides. By following my instinct and intuition and gut feeling, I have always, as you have realized from the videos I have done, I search a little bit there, I search a little bit there, and these videos on the website is actually a compendium of my research that I've been doing for the last 20 years, since I've left home and I've created my own life. And actually the last 20 years have been the pursuit of my own healing and and reaching to my full potential. And for that reason, I am really obsessed with intellectual activities, physical activities, and to expand my life experience as much as possible, okay? I also need to add that I've asked the universe that certain things happen in my life when I was 8 years old, so I know how the law of attraction works. Okay, so I don't need to be convinced or to ask for things. Usually I ask for things that enhance my personal development. I don't really ask for materialistic things. If they come, I'm very happy about it because I already live in abundance, but that's not the most important point in my life. My life is to be as healthy as possible, to be as wise as possible, and to live to my highest best self every day, to love hard, forgive harder, and to be happy as fast as I can, and to share my wisdom with all my friends around the world. And that's what I'm doing this. Each wound has unmistakable behavior symptoms. Since I learned to look for them, I have seen significant wound symptoms in over 80% of many hundreds of average students, therapy clients I've worked since 1981. I've also seen symptoms in many of my professional human service colleagues. Not one person could name these 6 wounds or to describe what they mean. This demonstrates the second component of an epidemic toxic parental bequest in typical cultures, unawareness. Well, as Catherine Austin Fitts calls it, it's not conspiracy theory. It is a business plan. So, in my perspective, because everybody's sick, I've never met anybody healthy, and that is pursuing health. That in order to achieve their psychic abilities, and I truly hope I will find them soon. Okay. These wounds amplify each other. Without informed intervention, they and unawareness pass on to the next generation. Here's an overview of the 6 inherent and psychological wounds. Lesson 1, articles give much more detail on these wounds, what they mean, and how to reduce them. A fragmented personality and the disabled true self, this promotes excessive shame and guilt, excessive fears, major trust disorders, excessive reality distortions, and difficult feeling, empathizing, bonding, and loving. Without taking care of these wounds, you will not be able to become a creator of your own reality to the positive. You will create the reality to the negative and become a destroyer. But to create something positive, you really need to take care of your negative wounds. Okay? So, here's a little detail of each wound. First, personality fragmenting and living from a false self. This wound causes all 5 other injuries. Positron emission tomography, PET, brain scans suggest that normal personalities are composed of a group of semi-independent subselves or parts, brain regions. Each subself has unique talents, limitations, and goals. When upset, personality types don't know or trust a resident true self, capital S. They take control like disgruntled rookies overpowering the coach and trying to lead a professional sports team. This results in a loss of the self-leadership, vision, talents, and wisdom, and causes impulsive, unwise, short-term decisions. People ruled by a false self, most of their lives aren't aware of it and accept the false self behavior symptoms as normal. This is something that Katzvela calls they are overtaken by demons. Okay. And I am very much preparing myself psychologically to do a summary of his books. And I find extremely interesting. They are extremely technology, and we have to understand our bodies as technology. Okay, in order to create magic. Okay, you really have to understand how easy we are manipulatable. Okay, through the ego, through the emotions, and through the lack of nutrition. Okay, so excessive shame, low self-esteem, and guilt. A clear symptom of this excessive shame is the unshakable belief that I am totally worthless and unlovable, no matter what anyone says. One common symptom include negative self-talk, a routine self-abuse and self-neglect, rigid denials, harsh self-criticism, compulsive apologizing, inability to accept merit, praise, love, and many others. Well, the inability of accepting love is an imbalance of the feminine energy. Okay, so it's not being able to recognize your own qualities. Okay. So the only thing you can do is to nurture your inner child, okay? It's to mother yourself, to take the wounded inner child and to love it as much as you can, and take the playful child and give power to that child, okay? And the method that I did is that when I had my child, I nurtured my child as it would be me, and that helped me a lot. Okay, so I loved my child as I would love, as if I would love myself and I would do anything as I wish my mother had done to me. Okay, it is actually a projection, but it's a projection for the positive. Okay. Normal guilts are healthy regulators of our behavior. Excessive guilt causes relentless self-criticism for breaking important rules. Should not, ought not, have, must, do, or can't. Excessive guilt breed in excessive shame. Guilt and shame feel the same, but are caused and managed differently. Other common psychological wound is excessive irrational anxiety, fears and terrors of criticism, rejections, abandonments, the unknown, failure, in someone else's view, success or intense emotions, for example, confusion, overwhelm, intimacy or interpersonal conflict. Typical symptoms are compulsive worrying, chronic hesitance, doubt, intimacy, timidity, excessive caution, difficulty making decisions, relationship addictions, codependence or narcissism, or excessive independence or social isolation, distancing. See this brief research summary of common health risks or excessive anxiety. Anxiety is the difference between the present and the future, and actually this means that the person does not have the fourth chakra open, and does not live in the moment, and does not trust the fifth reality. Okay, once you trust the fifth reality, you start understanding the sides of your body, the intuition, the gut feeling, and the and what your heart is telling you. Okay, and the heart is the central point between the electromagnetism. Electricity is the male energy, that is the first three chakras, and the magnetism is the upper three chakras. Okay, the reason why I always point out when I read this is that because Peter Gerlach and in psychology they ignore quantum physics. Okay, and in Buddhism and Hinduism they use the chakras in order to explain how the electricity and quantum physics are organized. So it is actually a theory of this science, but it is called religion. Okay, because it's are rules in order to master the technology. Okay. Number 4, trust disorders. A reflective reluctance to trust safe people, or repeatedly over-trusting abusive, self-centered or hurtful people despite painful betrayals. Another symptom of this fourth wound is persistent self-trust, a self-distrust, constantly doubting or second-guessing your own feelings, thoughts, perceptions, opinions, and needs. Another sign of this wound is skepticism or rejection of a benign, accessible higher power. Starting in infancy, distrust are learned from adult abandonment, neglect, and abuse. Number 5, reality distortions. Typical adults and kids ruled by a false self. A. Perceive things that don't exist. I know you are going to have an affair and leave me. And B. Don't admit or perceive things that do not exist. I am not addicted to sugar or to drama. Common language for this psychological injury is assuming, repressing illusions, delusions, projecting, minimizing, exaggerating, idealizing, paranoia, neurosis, catastrophing, and denial. I've already done a little video explaining what is delusional and collective illusional. Okay, and delusional is believing something or assuming something that does not exist. Okay, so if a guy has a girlfriend and he thinks his girlfriend is betraying him and he's searching for problems, okay, just to say, I know you did this, that's delusional, okay? One of many symptoms of widespread psychological wound is denial of these wounds. I am not ruled by a false self. I sure don't have these so-called wounds. Yes, you do, because it is planned, and all these wounds have already been described in the Book of the Dead. Okay, so, and this has to do with the fact that we don't know our reality, and we really need to investigate. Okay, and that's the reason why I do all those videos, and they are so different from one another, because in order to enlarge the view of our reality, so that our perception is the reality and the reality is the perception, and then we decide to what is the essential from the redundant, and we move on to a better reality by aligning your thoughts, emotions, feelings, and actions accordingly, having your fourth chakra open, and trusting the 5D and the other 6D and the other dimensions realities. Okay. The effects of these wounds, I don't have too many of these symptoms, and the wounds of origin, my childhood nurtures was normal and fine. Well, normal does not mean they're healthy. It only means that actually that the person that is saying this is not introspective enough in order to see the issue at hand. Okay, so if people choose not to see, if they choose to be to stay sick, like in the blissfully ignorant, okay, then it's their decision. If it's their fate. Okay. 6. Difficulty feeling normal emotions and empathizing and bonding with oneself, other or small or other people, and/or beneath higher self. Typical symptoms include relentless sense of alienation, disconnection, emptiness, and a loneliness that can be called a hole in the soul. Chronic social isolation or consistently superficial relationships. Going back to the hole in the soul, it's very. There is a doctor in San Francisco. I don't know her last name, but she does the biofield where she takes care of this hole in the soul. There are many diseases that she cannot fix, but if you are entering into a health pattern, she can help you. Organizing your energies in your aura, on your torus field, okay, with using tuning forks, okay. As you know, quantum physics is organized in vibrations. We don't see through our 5 senses that we are all vibrations. It's an illusion of separation, because we cannot merge with ourselves, because we vibrate at the different levels, okay. However, when we understand quantum physics, everything is vibrational, everything is a radio signal, everything is frequencies, okay? Everything are waves. So, therefore, when you play guitar, the sound makes sound waves, and you tune the guitar with the fork. It's the same thing with us, okay? You can tune your energies and the holes in your soul with the tuning forks, okay? Like epiphanies. When you have an epiphany, means that energetically you have shift to electromagnetic field, and you can absorb more information. Okay. So, relentless senses of alienation, disconnection, happiness, aloneness that have called a hole in the soul. Chronic social isolation or consistently superficial relationships. Being judged as cold, intellectual, distant, superficial, phony, unpathetic, insensitive, self-centered, or egotistical. Chronic depression or frantic businessness, a type A behavior. One or more of 4 types of addiction. A series of approaches avoid relationships or divorces, never committing to a mate. Vehement or passive atheism or spiritual indifference. Yes, we have people that, when they are atheists, and there is a paradigm that says we all have to trust the 5D reality. Hello! Or when you say happiness are just moments. Well, it means that you have happiness is a state of being, a state of high spiritual vibration that you decide to do every day. So if every day you decide, I'm going to be joyful and polite and kind to everyone every day, this is it. So you will have joy and politeness and kindness around you. But if you decide to be resentful, arguing and having drama, and that's what you're gonna have to your life. Okay. Partners and children not feeling loved by the wounded person despite sincere assurance. This is an imbalance of the female energy. Okay, not being able to receive love. Okay. Are you wondering if someone you care about could have some of these psychological wounds? See this comparison and for an initial idea. Premise: most personal, family, and social problems exist because of an epidemic psychological wounds and public unawareness of them. Once adults like you are aware of these wounds and their effects, you can avoid passing them to your descendants. This non-profit website offers a flexible, practical way to do this here. This YouTube video notes the similarity between the wounds above and common symptoms of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. These are called triggers. When you hear words and you feel you go back to this triangle: victim, a prosecutor, perpetrator. And yesterday I just saw a movie. It was Why Women Kill, and it is the couple. They in this series they tell a story of three different couples, and in one of them the story is in the 60s. And every time the guy, they have friends for coffee, and every time the guy wants more coffee, he just does this. And the woman gets up and gets this coffee, and that triggered me tremendously. Because in 2006, I met my parents in Paris. We went to Paris to see the city, right? And my mother had done the food for everybody, and she serves my father at the time. First, she gives the sandwich, and then she gives the sandwich to the rest of the family, right? It was at the time. It was myself, Isablinga, that's my oldest daughter, and herself. And my father, because he was he got the sandwich faster, and he eats faster. As soon as he finished, he didn't respect my mother's enjoying her sandwich, started disturbing her to exactly the same thing. And that enraged me, that he didn't not only that he didn't respect her enjoying her food, right? But I also was enraged that she did not establish a boundary, and that annoyed me extremely. That what annoys me the most in the relationship between my parents is that they totally have totally reject, both of them, the feminine energy. Okay, they leave both of them in the first three chakras and in the shadow of those first three chakras. So they are not nurturing, they can't empathize, they are not loving, they are emotionally unavailable. So they both figures that they are physically there, but they are not there with you. Okay, so I've never seen my father reading a book. I only saw my father most of the times being rude, sometimes being aggressive, and watching TV, sports, Formula One, all those movies, and my mother telenovelas, and etc., 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 ironing, cleaning the house, things that are not emotionally. It's the same things in the video of the Fabulous Destiny of Amélie Poulain, that both parents, they do things, they have pleasure with things that are not emotionally fulfilling. So growing up as an empath, and a child that was able to feel other people's feelings, and with the third eye open, I asked myself when I was a kid, don't these people see or feel what they are doing? Or I've always asked myself a lot of questions, and I've debated myself, how come they don't see what I saw? And as a matter of fact, they still don't see what I see. They are still living, as Peter Gerlach calls it, a false self. Okay? And the incredible thing in the relationship between my parents, that they are married since 1972, is that both my parents live in the past as if the rules that in the 50s and that was born, the rules still in place. So you have to do what the matrix demands you to, not what your intuition and gut feeling is telling you, but what the matrix tells you to do. So you have to be submissive, to put your hand down, and you cannot trust your abilities. And of course they are like that because they have not developed their talents and their gifts. Okay, they have not grown and experienced their talents in the world. Okay, and in the relationship they have is that my mother married my father. My father was 27 and my mother was 22. So there are 5 years of difference. Okay, and I know because I was there. My father crushed the feminine side of my mother by using the same techniques that why women kill on the couple that I'm mentioning, the one that lives in the 60s, does by criticizing, by belittling, by being ungrateful. So he crushed my mother's femininity and the sense of value. And because she didn't have anything else besides the house, the husband, and the daughter, right? And she didn't do things that strengthen her sense of self. So, okay, so what my father did is that in order for my mother to stay in the marriage, he crushed her femininity. That's what makes a woman blossoming, okay? And because my mother felt constrained, she used her masculine energy and enraged against him. So what they have is a vicious cycle, okay, or circle of negativity. So my father crushed her femininity, right? Because he is ungrateful and unloving and unavailable, and he is extremely insecure and anxious. Okay, he does not have any, even though he's very intelligent. Okay, he's lazy, insecurity, and emotionally unavailable. Okay. He crushed the femininity, right? And he doesn't consider my mother intelligent, okay? And what my mother did was that she uses the extra masculine energy to impose her boundaries. So little by little, he destroyed her femininity because they actually are vampiring each other, okay? So they are both being taken over by a false self, okay? They don't have any capacity of introspection. It is very slow, okay? They have only realized that perhaps there was something wrong with them when my first daughter left their home to live with a boyfriend. Then they realized perhaps there was something wrong with us. Okay? And by that time I was already living in Germany for more than 10 years. Okay? So I know that they have been going to the shrink, but I don't have anything to do with it. I've already explained on the previous video that my mother is narcissistic. And I'm a daughter of a narcissistic mother. The only thing I'm concerned about is to be a role model to my daughter, and I will do. It is hard to say that, especially in the society that I come from, that is the Portuguese society. That my mother, I cannot be with my mother because she does not have love to give. And in the Portuguese society, because we are Catholics, that is a taboo, okay? And unfortunately, it is so, and because she does not respect boundaries, and because she does not understand social cues, okay, as soon as you become a little too close with her or a long time, she uses all the opportunities to hurt, okay, and to hurt people, because as she was hurt in child, that's she doesn't know any other type of relationship, okay. She needs to destroy. She needs to destroy something that you find dear. So if she doesn't know it, she's not going to destroy it, okay? And yesterday I saw a video about how to protect yourself from, a reminder is that get acquainted, set your strong boundaries, okay? And I also have a friend that, a very good friend of mine, Carolina, she has also a narcissistic mother, and I decided to cut bounds. I didn't speak to my parents for many years, and that did me a very good psychologically. And they don't know where I live. They don't know my phone number. They are not. I don't have Facebook anymore. So I've cut all contacts, and that is something calling divorcing or killing the conditioning of your parents. Okay. And I have to say, it was very hard for me to do it, but it was one of the best decisions of my life. Okay, so from 36 years of study and personal experience, I propose that significant false self-wounding is one of the 5 reasons that many or most primary relationships fail, psychologically or legally. Self-Improvement Lesson 1 is this non-profit website. Is about assessing for these wounds and reducing them over time by intentionally harmonizing personality subselves. These questions and answers on personality subselves and psychological wounds for more perspective. The guidebook Lesson 1, Who's Really Running Your Life, integrates the key articles and worksheets in this site and gives more details to these wounds and their typical effects, how to assess and greatly reduce them over time, and how to choose high nurturing environments and relationships. To learn more of these wounds and to reduce them, start and continue the work of self-improvement Lesson 1. Note, these research reports indirectly validate what you need to read. Learn something about yourself with this anonymous 1-question poll. Recap. Based on my clinical research since 1979, this article summarized 6 psychological wounds that can occur to young kids who endure significant adult abandonment, abuse, or neglect. Without informed intervention, these adults continue or increase in adulthood and cause many of the most mental health problems. Coupled with adults and society unawareness, the wounds promote most interpersonal and social problems. Once grown wounded children, GWCs, are aware of their wounds, they can reduce them over time, live significantly better lives, and guard their kids from inheriting them. Lesson 1 in this website proposes an effective way to do this. Okay? So, the video I saw yesterday suggests strong boundaries, and I include these strong boundaries, and I've limited the access to my youngest daughter. Okay? And I do not. Of course, they don't see. For my parents, I am an ungrateful daughter, okay? Because I decided to become healthy psychologically and to free myself from the abuse, okay? According to them is that they invested so much money in my education that I have the duty to pay them back and be there. So accordingly to them, or my life, if I would have stayed, would be to be abused emotionally, physically, intellectually, and spiritually, and creatively, okay? Because I have a debt, I have an emotional debt, because they gave life to me, and because they have invested so much money on my education, I have a financial debt towards them, okay? And I've always told them that they were not normal, they were not healthy. And what they told me was that I was too sensitive, okay? And I was crazy. I remember when I was 5 years old that I overheard a conversation that my mother had with my father, and she was telling him how crazy or stupid and dumb I am. And I have an above average, much above average IQ. So, maybe they don't have the capacity to see, because you need to be intelligent to recognize intelligent people. And what I see in my father is that he never recognized how wrong my mother was. I remember also when I was 5 years old, I remember my father saying something I will never forget. He's saying, the older you are, the worse your little flowers that you draw become. Interesting, huh? So, thank you very much for being here with me. Comment, like, subscribe, and hit the bell button. And there is the link down below for donations. Have a nice day. Bye.